Hi everyone, Comic Book Reviewer here, this time reviewing on issue 2 of Young Justice Target. Now, as you know, Young Justice Target is meant to take place sometime after the events of Season 4 of Young Justice, and yeah, I also found out that Young Justice got cancelled, which I think was probably for the best, because I think it was just kind of clear that once they got a Season 3 and Season 4, Greg Weisman and the team believed they could still keep the series going without properly ending it. So I think Target is the closest thing we will get to a Season 5. And the cover mainly has Green Arrow and Black Canary getting ready for action, with a Markovian poster being graffitied on. And yeah, this is also meant to reference the whole X-Men Days of Futures Past iconic cover. So, the story mainly starts off with Cat Grant pointing about the abduction of Princess Perdita, and how Bow Hunter Security is being held accountable for what happened. And we see the former villain Crayface saying, "Oh, great. I don't know, Jim. Looks kind of bad for Bow Hunter." So, not the point, Hayden. And we kind of see how Oliver Queen and some of the others are recovering after what happened in the last issue. And Artemis points out that this was Sportsmaster's work, and with the antidote, it will take time for them to properly recover. And of course, we kind of see how they wonder why Oliver and Dana were posing as as Star Lab workers. And of course, they mainly decided to try and locate Princess Perdita. And we kind of see how Oracle, the Justice League, as well as the Outsiders, and we see how Brion is pointing out that they are not allowed to enter Markovian territory, and they'll find Princess Perdita their own way. And we see how Beast Boy is desperate to go, but we see how Cassie points out that he's still not cleared for active duty after what happened with the whole overdose drug fiasco. But we see Gar saying, "But I am going after Perdita either or without the Outsiders." But we kind of see how Cassie gets word from one of the other squads in Paris with the Gargoyles based on the anime series. They locate one of the Light's henchmen. And we also see how at the Markovian Palace, we see how Brion's aide lets them know they found Princess Perdita, and of course, we see how, given the fact that he's a metahuman, he can also manipulate Brion without the others knowing, and gets them ready to take the Infinitars with them, and mainly has Trajectory and Everyman to keep an eye on him, them saying, "From anything and anything." Copy that. And of course, we see how back at the Justice League Tower, Cyborg wants to go, but Black Lightning points out that it's too risky to have him, as he might cause an international incident due to his technology. And we kind of see how Spoiler asks, why isn't Tracy 13 with them? But keep in mind, after the events with Dr. Fate, as well with what happened with Clarion and the Child, it was agreed that each member of Satana's team would take turns in sort of taking on the mantle of Dr. Fate. And we see how Nightwing and the team go in. And of course, we see how in Markovia, we see how Brion has Everyman and his team to kind of split into different territories. We see how Brion has Everyman and Kobe go into one of the lit houses, and of course they figure that they're there, sending out their sort of guardsmen and that. So we see them sort of getting ready for action, and we see how Everyman, also Fury, as well as everyone around them, take on the henchmen single-handedly. And of course, Trajectory manages to find Princess Perdita and manages to get her to safety. And of course, it turns out this was all a part of a plan which Trajectory is aware of. And of course, it also turns out Princess Perdita isn't who she seems to be. So we pretty much are up to the next story, where Oliver Queen is in a coma, but also remembers how he got a phone call from Perdita to go undercover as a Star Labs worker. And we're introduced to a flashback 10 or 11 years ago, and this was also based on the Green Arrow DC short that was also in Justice League Crisis on Two Earths. So implying the events did happen, and kind of implying that, yeah, Oliver might have rescued her sometime before the Young Justice team got formed. And also trying to call Dana, but of course, as soon as he sees that his old foe Merlin, who's meant to be Oliver, but in a black Green Arrow costume, is tasked with assassinating Princess Perdita. We kind of see how the henchmen get ready to kind of assassinate her, but of course, we see how despite their best attempts, other people get hurt in the crossfire, and Perdita's aide Danny ends up getting shot, only with Green Arrow to show up to rescue her. And yeah, this was the story. So I think, yeah, issue 2 isn't too bad. I think you can tell, even though we aren't going to get a season 5, you can tell Greg Weisman and the team probably knew this and wanted to do Target as their own continuation. And I think having the whole Green Arrow short take place in this event can happen, as it's kind of implied Merlin was probably tasked by Vertigo, as well as his henchmen, to help deal with Oliver Queen, to be a more heavier hitter. So I think the story still deserves a thumbs up. Still good, and still alright. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.